Hello, and welcome to Sacred Fire Radio, Radio with Heart. Today, January the 27th, 2013, and it's our second show. And we're so happy to have you. We're excited that we're doing this second show together, and Josh, the co-host, will be with us shortly. Are you with us, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me okay, Florence?
Yes, that's absolutely wonderful.
Great, and I just would like to also welcome our viewers. It's been an outstanding past month since we did our first show. We've had, I believe, was it 4,200 views on or listens on our first show, and we're just thrilled to be getting the level of information out there in a format in which is really, the feedback we've been getting is really helping people on the path of awakening, really. And just excited that this show we can actually focus on the body and focus on supporting health in the body, and supporting the body in a way that we can really raise our level of awareness and raise our consciousness on our individual journeys. So very excited about that.
Absolutely. That last and first show was 4,200 people, was a wonderful turnout. And all three of the guests on it did an incredible job. And it is our dream, isn't it, Josh, that these shows will touch a lot of different issues that are not normally heard, and that we have a kind of a unique and unusual idea behind them and a slant.
Hello, this is Dalkoiya. Thank you for calling. Thank you for leaving a message.
Oh, we're having a little.
And I look forward to speaking with you.
Difficulty with Dalkoiya. We're keep hearing his machine, so we'll just keep trying on that. Hey, Josh?
Yeah, I'd just like to mention, too, that obviously I think that our listeners can understand this. We're not technical, polished radio hosts, but the heart and the intention and the information is really what it's all about. So we really appreciate your patience as we find our footing here in this realm. And I just want to honor you, Florence and Klaus, for doing all the work and setting up this show and making it so easy just for me to call in and be part of it. So thank you so much.
As Klaus is the technical end of this show, we wouldn't be able to do this without him. So thanks a lot, Klaus, for all the bells and whistles that you're trying to tune up here. And I think I've got a line into Dalkoiya. I hope we're going to hear him in a few minutes. And we'd like to thank you all out there, each and every one of you, for taking your individual time out of your busy and hurried lives. I know how that is these days with everyone, and that we just your precious time to listen to us is very touching, and from our hearts we thank you. We have some amazing and wonderful guests today, and like you said, Josh, it's all about health, and it's all about keeping our bodies fit, and that can be done in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of information out there today on the internet, as we all know. The way we eat, what we drink, what we breathe, it all adds into our physical body, and how we receive people and experiences in our life have a lot to do with our health, our mental health, our emotional health. And physical health, of course, is the building block. It's what houses the heart. It's what the housing of our heart, and how God touches us, each of us in our life, and how we are thinking and receiving our experiences in life are very important. Mm-hmm. And I understand you're also doing a lot of meditation and healing these days, Josh, in where you're down there in Seattle, are you?
Yeah, and down here in Seattle, and I'm calling in remote for this particular program, and it's been an amazing time of unfoldment here. I really feel that 2013 is a year of community. It's a year of integrating spirit and integrating our spiritual path into the here and now, and into the sort of the physical realm, this dimension of where we're really learning to take responsibility for our own lives, and for, in the greater picture, for the planet as a whole, and how that starts is really from the inside out, and loving ourselves and healing ourselves, and just blessing ourselves with good food and nutrition and environment. And I'm just really I've been doing a lot of yoga and meditation over these past several weeks down south of the border here, and it's been such a blessing. But I just really am thrilled to have Dalkoiya Batchelor on the show. We've been having a little bit of a technical difficulty getting him on, but Dalkoiya, can you hear us? Are you on the show so far?
I am. Can you hear me?
Excellent. Okay. We can hear you loud and clear. And let me just say that perhaps I'll just introduce you a little bit to the audience, and then we'll get into the interview. But you're a nutritionist, you're a holistic health expert, EMF radiation inspector, and relationship counselor. You're the founder of Ascended Vitality and the creator of the Living Liquid Nutrition Lifestyle Program and the Adrenal Rejuvenation System. And I'm thrilled about the work that you do, Dalkoiya, because you're really bridging worlds. It's like you're taking what we just mentioned, the whole spiritual path that so many of us who are waking up on this planet are on, and you're creating entire support systems and ways in which we can fuel our bodies and really support our unfoldment. So I first of all would on behalf of Florence and myself, I just want to welcome you to the show and say, thank you for doing what you're doing. So welcome.
Thank you. I feel honored, and I feel grateful, and I feel elated to be here. So thank you, Josh. Thank you, Florence. And thank you to each individual listener that's here with us today. You are a miracle, literally. The fact that you're breathing, the fact that you're pulsing is a miracle. You are a living, breathing, pulsing, bioelectric life form. And you're the most advanced life form we've discovered thus far in the entire universe. And we've spent a lot of energy trying to find other life forms, and we're everything that this earth is, we're everything that this universe is, and we're literally walking, breathing, and pulsing as this inside of us. And in my own journey, as well as in the journey of guiding and educating and supporting others in their own health journey, one of the key pieces I have discovered and found is the first place I began is to help people become nourished. And most of us have not learned what really we are inside. I'm talking mostly physiological. And when we begin to nourish ourselves more appropriately and more correctly, then we become more present and more available, more conscious, and have more space to direct our lives in the way that we're inspired to focus our energy. And it's actually really amazing. And you said, I heard you share something in the opening, Florence, around that there's so much information available today, and there is, and it's amazing. And it's also, I feel, made it very complex and confusing, the simple truths that have always been here and that are still here. And basically what I am doing is actually quite simple, though it is quite complex because of the journeys that we have created for ourselves that started long before you and I and each listener birthed into these bodies here in the life that we're living. And so my work has really been focused beyond the nutrition and so forth into the endocrine system, which I feel is one of the most significant systems within our physiology that's quite profound and quite humbling, how much it affects our choices in life, how our spirit embodies our life, how our energy operates and flows and circulates, how we respond to life. And so
Yes, as the endocrine system is one of the things that we don't really know a lot about, Dalkoiya. So we are incredibly interested in that part of what you have to say also.
Well, the endocrine system, first I wanted to say more about being nourished. And so being nourished, I found, starts one with assisting someone to cleanse, so to begin to release out of this body ecosystem, I call it, all that's built up over 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and to begin to create more space so that the nourishment that we begin to introduce can really assimilate in the body and to enter into the blood and cellular environment, which is where food is supposed to go, and to get there as quickly and efficiently as possible. And so once the food is here, then the endocrine system, which is the kidneys, the adrenal glands, the brain, the pineal gland, the thyroid and parathyroid, and the nervous system, parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, which modulates all the hormones, all the fats, all the proteins, all the carbohydrates in our body. So if we're off, then we're not assimilating what we're putting into our body correctly, and most people aren't putting into their body what can really fuel their life appropriately. And so once we,
I was just wondering if you could go into that, some specifics, like what are some specifics of what maybe mainstream thinks is good for us that you've your work has uncovered that we're doing wrong, and what could we do better specifically to fuel our bodies and to balance the endocrine system?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. One of the simplest things I've found, and it certainly is a bit more complex and will require more time with you or each individual client, I'm being general here, is to drink more juice and fresh, living vegetable and fruit juice. The way we've been eating and the lives that we're living now with the multiple levels of stress that we experience in our life, whether we're aware of it or not, is not nourishing us. When we eat solid food, mostly diets of solid food, we have to extend a significant amount of our own precious, vital source energy within us to process that food. And so the more that we can drink fresh fruit and vegetable juice, that goes directly into the bloodstream and feeds the cells and feeds the endocrine system and gives us immediate energy. And so that's one thing that I found really profound in this. I didn't decide in my mind that was the direction I was going to go about 6.5 years ago. It was just the direction that I started going. And so for the last 6.5 years, I've been 80% what I call living liquids or juice, and I prepare all my own juices. And so I've really had some extraordinary experiences and revelations and insights into what's happening and what's going on, and the people I work with have really amazing results in short amount of time just by getting them nourished correctly, helping them cleanse, and to assisting them to correct certain patterns in their life so that they can create more time for themselves, and which allows them to accomplish what they desire to accomplish. So I'd say the juicing is probably the simplest thing, a great place to begin.
I want to get into a little bit, Dalkoiya, and you and I talked about this before the show a number of days ago, is how do you see, like a lot of people, we're on the path of I guess one could say awakening or whatever the term, but really increasing the level of our consciousness or vibration. And we have moments of maybe more clarity, moments of more insight, and then maybe it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We struggle with what one may call ego or shadow, or these darker things coming up. What links have you noticed? What are some insights between the relationship of what we put in our bodies as food and what we experience in our consciousness? And are there certain things going on there that perhaps the average individual isn't aware about, how that dynamic works?
Great question. I find it's profound, actually, how much what we ingest or put into our body affects how we perceive and respond to life. That's the most significant quote from my childhood that still applies in my life today. Actually, I am what I eat.
Yes, so I remember that too when I was a child.
So literally, what we put into our body, we become. So if you're a coffee drinker or a tea drinker, or whatever you currently do, if you take that water and you put the tea in it and let it steep, or you put the coffee in, within moments, that an alchemy, it changes. Well, we're mostly water, oxygen, hydrogen. We're mostly water. So what we put into us, we literally become. And it's a humbling truth, and so it directly affects our experience and our availability, how present we are with life and what's happening, how present we are with this earth and this planet, which we are everything that this planet is. And so it's beautiful to me. And so by going more liquid and discovering how to do that. I mean, I've done something that not many people have done. I've applied it as a lifestyle. And so the more I've done that, I'm ingesting such a high amount of raw food in a certain form that I feel so much more connected to this planet and what's happening at a universal level. And I mean, and I have struggles just like everyone does, but I feel it directly affects what's happening.
Yeah. Do you eat do you consume just liquid, just juices, like 100% juices, 100% raw, or what is your diet consist of? And is there anything to be said for eating raw meat?
Great question. I don't. I did early on, and again, there's a lot to help someone, guide someone to begin this way of nourishment. A lot of people are beginning to do juicing, and there was an article in the Wall Street Journal and all these types of things. It's been coming, and it's reaching the mainstream. Yet there is a lot more to it, because we're a sum total of how we've been living for a long period of time. And so yes, I do eat solid food. I'm selective about what I eat, but as a result of how much liquid nutrition juice that I put into my body, it's giving me such a high quality and energy of nutrition that I still mostly liquid. I'd say, I eat salads, I eat some fish on occasion, I do eat some red meat now. I didn't early on, mostly buffalo. And it's mostly the ingredients that I put in my foods. There's so many ingredients that are available to us that are oftentimes off the radar, and certainly it depends on where you live. So it's basically just recreating pretty much everything in my life. I still use oils, but the oils I use are different than I used to use, for instance. So it's just really opening up to a whole other array of ingredients in my food.
Wow.
Sorry, go ahead, Florence.
No, I was going to say, so you get a variety of like your fiber in your diet, and the concentration of nutrients is amazing, I imagine, from just the concentration of the juicing that you're doing.
It is actually, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And breads? Do you breads?
No, I don't do bread.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
What about other, like a lot of our listeners might be knowing the benefits of a raw lifestyle, but maybe they're currently 30% or halfway there, and they'll do things like, gluten-free. So many of my friends and just the people that I know are going towards 100% gluten-free now. We're going towards just completely eliminating, corn from our diet, because corn is GMO unless it's organic, as far as my awareness of that is. So, question about the oils, and actually, let me just finish the question about bread. What do you think about like kamut bread or quinoa bread or spelt bread or things other than wheat? Is that still, say, incompatible with increasing our consciousness and supporting our body's nutrition?
No, I appreciate those more ancient grains. I feel for me it's just a matter of becoming more aware of how they're created. Is really important to pay more attention of who's behind this food, where is it coming from. These types of things I feel is really important. Is a key piece. There's just the energy behind it.
Is it a corporate food or is it a living food?
I'm not down on corporate necessarily. A lot of people look down on Whole Foods, for instance, and through my life experience, I appreciate what they do. I feel it's just a matter of looking a little closer, that they're one of the largest organic markets in the world, so they're more visible, and it's easy to point the finger if they do something wrong. Yet they also have made organic foods and that level of lifestyle available in a big way in this country. Do you have Whole Foods up in Canada?
Yes, we do.
You do. Okay.
Yeah, and I just have a question. The DNA of the children that are being born now, accordingly, is different. They're stating that, and I wondered about your diet. Is that geared for that difference in some way? Is that part of your diet being the way it is?
That's a great question. It wasn't an intention initially, but as I have continued in the insights and experiences that I've had and seen my clients have, and full circle back to the endocrine system, it's a significant piece, because when we first are created by our mother and father, and we go from the whole embryo state all the way into form, and then through our mother and into the world, every moment we're in our mother, the way that she is in the world and how she's responding to the world is programming and imprinting our endocrine system and all that we are. We can change that if that isn't working for us. I believe most anything can be corrected. So I feel that's a significant thing in these times, is the choices that we as a consciousness have chosen by food and so forth for the last 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 years has affected us. And I feel certain things right now are affecting us even more so, and I feel it's even more important than that we do create healthier choices for ourselves so that we can respond differently to those things at a DNA level. So, because the DNA can be corrected, I do believe it can. It's just a matter of nourishing ourselves more correctly.
Are you seeing DNA changes in some of the kids that are being born now that are allowed, I guess, to have their early years not being vaccinated, eating organic food, having fully supported in their nutrition? Are we seeing like a positive evolution of the human species from your perspective?
I do see some of that. I do. I'm a positive person. I believe. I choose to believe that there's good happening even in the midst of the polarity. So I do see that. I do see that there is a certain consciousness that's coming through, and it's exciting. and I'm grateful for that. And on the other side of it, there's also some that are having a bit more struggle. So I feel if each of us can create a more healthy reality for ourselves in some way that is affecting everyone. That's a real profound truth.
So in regards to certain types, like blood types, for example, do you look at certain foods for certain blood types? Is that anything to do with your diet?
That's a great question. I don't generally do that. Now, if a client needs that, I do have blood work done and so forth. Again, the way I'm nourishing and at the level that I am assisting and educating and guiding clients is at the blood cellular level. Mm-hmm. So, and it's a beautiful thing. If you've never had that done, I recommend it to have a live blood cell analysis. For me, it's a profound experience to look and to see the very essence of myself moving on the screen, because you're a cellular environment, and how the cells are relating to each other. How do they look? What's going on in the blood environment? And it really is very revealing of how I'm, how healthy I am and how I'm functioning. And so by nourishing myself the way I've been nourishing myself and supporting others to be nourishing themselves, they're literally having a blood transfusion every day.
And of course, all that blood going through the brain and making us think in a certain way and react and etc. Certainly changes when we eat differently.
Yes.
Dalkoiya, I wanted to ask you about, you have a program called the Adrenal Rejuvenation System, and I saw an amazing doctor here in the Seattle area earlier this week named Dr. Carl Yelstrup, who is just brilliant at what he does. And one of the things he was sharing with me is, and I've heard this before, is almost everybody has either currently or at some point in their life experienced adrenal fatigue or adrenal exhaustion. And more and more, I mean, if we want to bridge a little bit to the electromagnetic radiation issue, more and more that seems to be part of what's going on. I wonder if you could touch on that, how you see that whole area of health from your perspective, and what are some things that perhaps we could do that are part of your adrenal rejuvenation system?
Wonderful question. Thank you. Yes, I sometimes term it as collective adrenal fatigue. Most everyone is experiencing some level of adrenal fatigue, and some more severe than others. Some aren't even aware of it. And so supporting someone to be nourished is more than just the nourishment itself. We have been programming ourselves by in so many ways about how we operate our life, and so it can require ongoing months to really help someone to have a healthy shift in their health, particularly with the adrenals, and more importantly, the entire endocrine system, because the adrenals, again, are a part of the endocrine system. Yeah. And so one of the complex things about the adrenals and the endocrine system is, again, the hormonal nature, and that they are modulating all the fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. So I'm just going to focus on the hormones. So much of what we do in our life, how we respond to stress, how we respond to being late for an appointment, how we respond to our crying child, what foods we're putting into our body, it all evokes the endocrine system constantly. And so that programs us to how we respond to the world. So many people drink stimulants, smoke cigarettes, coffee, all those types of things. That's constantly elevating the adrenal glands and endocrine system.
Mm-hmm.
It's an addiction to that hormonal response side. So it takes time for most people. Again, I'm generalizing and speaking to a large audience here and be more specific to each individual. But that's one of the tricky things, and so a lot of healthcare practitioners don't feel that the adrenals can be rejuvenated because it's really the essence of the life within us. I found that it can, and there's many parts to it. The first, again, is nourishment and helping someone to become nourished, and then it's a whole lifestyle, assessing their entire lifestyle, and piece by piece looking at where are the big stressors and helping them to make changes so that the endocrine system isn't so elevated all the time.
Mm-hmm. Like whipping a tired horse.
Yes. So what happens when we're stimulating ourselves that way, we constantly tap into that deeper energy. It's similar to that we're physical beings having a spiritual experience. That on some level, if we can just allow life to happen, allow spirit to communicate through us, what's very similar to our relationship to our body and the endocrine system, the more that we can give it what it needs and to collaborate with it instead of needing it to do so much work, then things tend to flow with more grace.
Mm-hmm.
So getting rest is really important. There's this whole thing, 8 hours of sleep and so forth. Much of what I do is kind of demystified so many of those appearing truths. Someone that's really depleted in the adrenals and endocrine system needs a lot more sleep than most people do.
More than 8 hours?
Yes, generally.
Mm-hmm. As they're going
I'm
through
generalizing.
As they're going through like a rejuvenating process, I guess, during that period, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, and
most of them already do that anyway. If there's a number of symptomologies, however, most people would desire to sleep a bit more if they could.
Yeah, sleep is such a wonderful thing, and yet at the same time, people are having so much trouble sleeping these days,
yes.
and they're waking up in the middle of the night and not be able to get back to sleep. So, is that to do with the adrenals, do you think?
There's multiple things. Thank you for offering that, and I'm going to circle around to answer your question as well as what you said earlier, Josh, about the electromagnetic radiation that's so abundant in our life today is one of the most significant levels of stimulus and stress that some people are aware of and some aren't. That's a factor that we are in a relationship with that I don't know that we've ever been here before as a human populace, possibly. I don't think we have, as far as technology where it is today, and this is a key piece to everything that I do, and it's the level of stress that we're all being with today. So yes, that is affecting people's level of well-being and how they rest, and again, the endocrine system and so forth, and the pace at which we are living life. We are literally trying to keep up with technology instead of keeping up with nature. And thankfully that's changing, and I love to see that it's changing. We're in the midst of that change. And I'm very excited and grateful to see that happening. So one of the things I notice every year as the seasons change, the rhythms of the earth change, the cycles change, from summer into the transition into fall and winter, is that so many people get sick. And they're used to running their energy in a certain way. The summer is very yang. There's lots of sun energy and long hours of the day. and they're used to just going for it constantly, and then the seasons change and the days get shorter, and it's the time to slow down and rest, and the endocrine system is used to performing at a certain level, and when it slows down, oftentimes people will get sick. It's just like I have a client whose son was in school, and he tends to get sick when he comes back home, and we've done some work on this. And he's performing at a certain level in school. He always has finals before he comes home. So his endocrine system is supporting him at a certain level to meet that demand. And then he comes home and he's not living that lifestyle anymore. His mother takes care of him. He's nourishing himself. He's getting a lot of rest. And his endocrine system calms down and remodulates, and then he gets sick in that in-between time. It's fairly common, but most people aren't aware that that's happening. They just think something's wrong.
I actually experienced that quite dramatically back in November. Some of our listening audience might know I'm directing and producing a film called Take Back Your Power, and one of the major issues is smart meters, so-called smart meters, and one of the major issues with smart meters is the electromagnetic radiation. Back in November, I was really pushing quite intensely for about 4 or 5 days straight, very little sleep. I had to get a cut of the film ready for a test screening, and immediately after that screening, I got sick. And obviously so many people can relate to this, but you're saying that's a function of the endocrine system, right? And its ability to I guess adapt to whatever we need to do, whatever the body needs to do. But when it changes states, is what you're saying, that's when sickness can happen. Yes.
So what's happening, and that's a great example. I lived that lifestyle too. I was a designer for a long time. When we're performing at a certain level, whether it's a project, school, whatever it might be, that level of performance and stress, our endocrine system, again, which is the adrenal glands are part of it, all the hormones modulate themselves to perform at that level. And so when all that stops, whatever was imbalanced, whether it was adrenaline, cortisol, whatever hormones in each person needed to elevate to perform at that level to meet that demand, once you come down off of that, then you realize, wow, I've been overdoing it. I haven't gotten the rest I needed. I haven't eaten the way I needed to, and so forth. And so, the body just is like, that was too much for me.
I know there's
go ahead.
Oh, please finish.
And then we hopefully we rest and we return to some state of balance again, and so
And I just wanted to perhaps we could get a little bit more into the electromagnetic radiation issue and some specific examples, perhaps some specific solutions that you could offer from your research and perspective. I know just browsing your website, which is just outstanding, I recommend it to everybody, ascendedvitality.com. On the top of your website is the video for the film Resonance Beings of Frequency. Now this is basically blowing the whistle on how significant this is, these cell phone towers, cell phones, so-called smart meters, all these sources of radiation, how significant this is to the human body and how corporate science has been corrupted. What's your experience and what's your research indicating personally, Dalkoiya, and what can people do as solutions?
Wonderful question. Yes, electromagnetic radiation is a significant part of our world now, and there's multiple names for electrosmog, dirty electricity, EMF pollution. All of those, in my perspective, are attempting to speak to what we're talking about here. It's cell phones, it's smart meters, it's DECT, cordless phones.
Yeah.
It's wireless. All of those are radio frequency. Then there's the electricity in our homes and that unique environment. Every home is different, I've found, in inspecting homes. They all have electricity running in them and through them. At the same time, they're their own unique individual, if you will. The main things that we can do, again, is to really take good care of ourselves, nourish ourselves as good as we can, and really create space to. We spend so much time in our life working out. By that I mean most of the time we're outside of ourselves. And so by getting to work in, and so meditation is working in, very subtle forms of, breathing and really creating that connection to being here, so that when I am in the world, that I nourish and maintain that connection to the world inside of me and to the world outside of me. And so all the electromagnetic radiation around is a significant stress. One of the tricky things about it is that you can't smell it, can't see it, and so forth. I feel the more sensitive you are, you can see it and feel it. I know I do. I mean, it's a bit challenging for me. I do still use a cell phone. I don't necessarily see the technology going away. I do see positive changes. And that's really my focus in doing my work, and specifically the EMF radiation inspection work, is that there will be a positive, healthy shift in technology in the future. We already have the ability to do it. It's just a consciousness shift to make that happen. And again, that all comes back to what we're putting into our body. I feel all of where we are today, the seemingly not so good or the negative, is a result of what we've been putting inside of ourselves. And through that consciousness, we've created these things. And all of this started back in the Industrial Revolution. We were inspired to create something new, and the more we went in that direction, the more we thought we could outdo nature.
Right.
And so we're again at a choice point with all the electromagnetic radiation around. I feel it may be one of the most significant choice points we've ever been, because there's so much wireless technology around. So the more that we can contain that energy and go back to the cords and have a cable modem and so forth, you're literally directing that signal and telling it where to go instead of just letting it roam wireless around. Which is really important. And
I just would like to encourage our listening audience that this is actually a huge opportunity, and through my own research, Dalkoiya, I completely resonate with what you're saying, that this is a huge choice point for us as a species. But there's much to be encouraged about as far as these so-called smart meters and the awakening around them, in the sense of there's millions of people now worldwide that are saying no, we're not going to have this source of microwave radiation constantly blaring in our home. And anybody can find out more info about this on the film site takebackyourpower.net. But really, I mean, in India now, in other countries, there's cell phone towers that are being taken down. In Europe, there's much more openness in the science that are showing there's clear biological damage being done. There's over 6,000 published scientific studies that are saying, look, this is a problem. And so this is really up to individuals really to take a stand to say, this meter that the electric utility or the government is saying I have to take, I'm not going to take it. And when people are willing to take that stand, big change happens, and we're seeing it happen by opt-outs starting already. In Kauai, there's an opt-in place so that nobody gets a meter unless you specifically approve that decision on the utility company for your home. So there, this is a huge opportunity to really move to a higher level of being. And I just appreciate your bringing this conversation out into the work of health and nutrition, Dalkoiya. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yes, Dalkoiya. So, Josh, have you got another question for Dalkoiya? Our time is about 2:45 as we got it here.
Mm-hmm. One thing I was wondering, perhaps we could just go back to the endocrine system, Dalkoiya, in which you have done so much wonderful work. And a question I had is it how related is the endocrine system in the glands to the ancient Hindu system of the chakras? Is it the same thing? Like, is there one chakra per endocrine gland? And in your experience, does the understanding of the chakras transfer over to what the endocrine glands do?
That's a great question. In my experience, yes. I have focused on the endocrine system as a topic of talk today, and every part of our body is playing a part in collaborating with the endocrine system. And the chakras, yes, we are light, vibration, frequency, sound, color, energy, appearing to be humans in form. So yes, it all correlates together, it all collaborates together. As far as how the chakras actually collaborate with the endocrine system, I'd have to sit with that a bit longer. That's a really great question. I don't know that they respond palpably to the endocrine system. At the same time, certainly if you have a block, in a chakra, yes, absolutely, that's going to affect the endocrine system and the entire being, of course. So
interesting. Well, definitely an interesting area to explore. Well, Dalkoiya, I just wanted to thank you so much for your time today. And how can people get in touch with you? How can they, have a personal consultation from you? And what's the best way to reach you personally?
The best way to reach me is to call me by phone, and that number is area code 805-259-9253. You can also email me. My email is pretty overwhelmed these days just by all my YouTube activity and so forth and all the comments I get.
I hear you.
So phone is definitely the clearest way to do that. Email is appreciation, APPRECIATION @ascendedvitality.com. And I'm available for hourly consultations as well as working people a bit deeper and ongoing in my different health programs. So.
Very good. Dalkoiya, thank you again so much for your time today. It's been wonderful chatting with you. And Florence, you were talking about, we were talking before the show about doing an upcoming show on the environment. And
yes.
Just want to touch on that.
Yes, I think the environment is certainly a huge part of our health and well-being. And being from a place where we have mills, pulp mills, and et cetera, it would be very good to become aware of the pollutants that are in the air and how we can help to clean our body and keep ourselves strong and vital in this time. And certainly a show would be very fitting for us to do. Josh and Dalkoiya, would be wonderful to have you on again as part of that show.
I'd love that.
Great. Would be interested in that information for sure. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful being with you. I feel totally honored. Thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you and all your information, and I know you've got lots more to share, and your webpage is an amazing place to kind of peruse around in, and I would encourage anybody to go and take a look at it. And yes, we'd love to have had you on the show here.
Ascendedvitality.com is that website again. So Dalkoiya, thank you again. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we are going to go to. Do we have our next guest on, Florence?
Yes, our next guest is Barbara, the clay lady of Colorado, and we're really excited to hear about her way of using clay and what her history has been in with the Native Americans, and how she first learned of clay from them. And her story is fascinating. She'll tell you a little bit more about that. Have we got her on the line yet, Klaus? I know we've had a little technical difficulty today in regards to the phoning and the calling. And Barbara, if you're hanging on there, we're coming. She's down in the States, and she has many stories about clay and how it relates to the body. And you know, as kids, you know, we're always told to keep clean and don't get in the dirt and wash yourself off. Well, she has a different slant on getting dirty with the clay and the substance. That this is an ancient substance and ancient healing art that's done with it. And so she's offline now. We're just hearing this. I guess she's been hanging on, and we're going to see if we can't call her on our radio here. Apparently, clay was used on the skin of the men with the cleanup during Chernobyl. Before they put their suits on, they were putting clay on their body because it is known to absorb the radioactive substances, which is very important. I wanted to call Barbara on the show today because of our Japanese Fukushima accident. And I thought her situation and her knowledge would be incredibly good and very timely for us to have her on the show. And yes, and so we're trying to get her on here. She's just coming now, I believe. And if you're there, hello, Barbara. You're live. We're thrilled to have you on the show today.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Flo.
Yes. And Josh is our co-host here. He's on board with you.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Josh. How are you?
Hi, very good. How's your afternoon?
It's wonderful. Beautiful Colorado.
Oh, wonderful.
I understand it's snowing down there, Barbara.
Yep. Again and again.
Yeah, so we're from the land up here, and
right.
Yes, and Klaus also is on board with us. He's our technical person that you've been called by, and so
Hi, Klaus.
Yes, he's nodding at you here with his microphone. Yes, and so we had some questions I had put to you, Barbara, and I don't know where you'd like to start with that. In regards to something that you would talk to us more specifically about. I mean, we'd love to hear about your stories that you've had.
I'd love to hear your story, Barbara. How did you come into this knowledge about the sacred healing properties of clay? And there was a little bit on your website about a medicine woman. Is that right? And perhaps you could guide us through your journey to this point.
Just before we start, maybe Barbara, could you move a little bit closer to your microphone?
Yes. Is this better?
Much better. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, you're welcome. Sure. I'd be happy to. And again, thank you for having me on your show. It's really a pleasure to share this information with people. And I guess I've just been blessed to live close to the earth and her plants and animals all my life. I've never lived in a city. I've always lived very close to nature and had that close relationship with with the Indians. I met, actually it all started for me when I learned my first natural health secret using herbs and clay from a Native American Indian medicine man from the Miwok coastal California tribe Indians there in Northern California. I was attending a horse camp when I was 12 years old. So that's what got me started on the path to natural, health and natural healing. Yep. And I found out from this Indian, the Indians used to call clay Iwaki, which means the mud that heals. and at least some of the Indians use that language to talk about clay. And I found out a lot when I was really young, studying with these Indians. This was one Indian that really put me in connection with the clay. And I used to have some health issues with my menses when I was a young girl at around 12, 13 years old. And when I started using the clay after, this Indian man I'm talking about, this healer, medicine man, his name was Wind Rider, and he was at this horse camp where I studied to ride horses, and I stayed there for a month. And this was a special camp in Petaluma, California, where Trigger was boarded, Roy Rogers' horse, and so we met Roy Rogers and Dale Evans and the whole crew up there. Yeah. I was like a little country, cowgirl at that time, and so I learned a lot about the clay, and I used it, and it actually helped me to for my menses to become regular. They were really heavy flowed and lots of cramping. I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't balanced, and when I started using this clay, it completely balanced and alkalized my system, and I never had another problem with that again the rest of my life. Actually.
Wonderful. Many women would love to hear that story, yeah. I'm sure. Just a little bit away from your mic. It's a little banging on there. That's great. Yeah, but that's much louder. It's much more clear, so thank you. Okay, that's a good thing to know. Absolutely. And so you were at this horse camp, and this native Indian taught you about how to apply clay, and was it internal or external, or?
It was a little of both, and he really did start teaching us about the horses. This was a horse camp, and he was using the clay for the horses, so we started learning how how they use this clay to help the horses deworm. They never ever had a chemical dewormer used on the horses because the clay it's over half silica, kind of like diatomaceous earth, and the silica moves the calcium into the bone cell of an animal or a person using internal clay, so that's where it helps osteoporosis and bone loss and stuff like that. But it also, the silica is like little tiny blades of glass, and it slices and kills the parasites in the intestine.
Oh boy!
And it works. Clay works on the cellular level. It's a detoxifier. Inside and out, it's ionically charged, and that's why they call it living clay. Living clay, the word living, you'll hear that people say living water, living clay. It really means those substances have an ionic charge to them, which is kind of like they're electrified, or they have a prana energy,
Is that a negative ion charge, like you get from going to the forest or going to the beach or something?
Absolutely. Yep.
But you're putting it in your body, right? So this is, you're consuming, like, how much of this a day would be consumed to affect this healing process?
Well, a lot of people say started a tablespoon of powder in a glass of water in the morning on an empty stomach. I like to tell people to start with a teaspoon rather than a tablespoon. And the reason I do is everybody's system is different. And if you take too much clay in the beginning when you have never had it, your body's not used to it, you don't want to clog the intestine. You want to clean the intestine and the colon. So you want to start at a slow amount, a small amount, and go with that for a while until you have the process of the cleanse underway, and then you can always increase. So a lot of people make a mistake, and they think more is better, and they take too much at once, and then they get constipated.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's good to work up. Start small and work up into it.
Right. And there's a woman by the name of Neva Jensen who wrote a little book about clay. There's some books on my website, and this book is called The Healing Power of Living Clay. and she studied with Indians too, and she has an interesting page where she was very, very sick. She had very, very intense malnutrition, and she just had some issues, and she was healed by an Indian man helping her with herbs and clay, and her story's on that book too. But the thing I wanted to mention was that the marine type of clay, there's different types of clay, and there's a marine type of clay which is beneficial as well, but it's not as beneficial for bone loss for osteoporosis. The red clay is more of an alkaline clay that comes from the volcanoes high in the mountains. It's not much down low, it's high up in the mountains, and it has more more alkalinity and pulling power for some reason this woman also tried that, and she had bone problems, and they reoccurred when she used the marine clay, but when she went back to the red clay, her healing continued on. So yeah, so there's really a difference between different kinds of clay, and in high school I was using the green clays, the French green clays, which are good clays. All clay, has good. They all are good, but you have to be careful about what you're using them for, and how clean they are. And so they have to be clean, and they have to be the right kind of clay. And that's why NASA, and I know that was one of your questions, Flo, about NASA using the clay in their suits when they went up in space. They actually did tests with our clay, with the red clay, the Terramin clay, because excuse me, it had a really great effect on them, preventing the radiation from penetrating into their bodies by having the clay around the suits, and they also did an experiment. This was back in 1964. Dr. Benjamin Hersoff or something. He sponsored a research that prompted evidence that astronauts' bodies lose large amounts of calcium from the bones under conditions of weightlessness. So, so they did this whole experiment with clay, and they found, that it was really helpful for keeping the body weight, and the bone diseases were prevented. So,
that would be very important for them. And also, of course, the osteoporosis is a huge problem for many people, and it's very good. So the red clay, is that the one that's been used a lot for osteo situations? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's very interesting information, especially with teeth and things like that. Again, is that? Oh, absolutely.
And you can brush your teeth. It makes a wonderful toothpaste. I use it instead of toothpaste, and it's very good for your teeth. It does not scrape the enamel off. It just cleans them really nice. And if you soak the clay in your mouth around your teeth, like at night when you're sitting around the TV or something, for like 10 or 15 minutes every day, you'll see that it will actually pull the yellow out of your teeth naturally. It will see, clay has a pulling power and has been used for millions of years through, from the Incas to the Pomo Indians to all walks of life, for thousands of years, and they use clay for a staple for their food. They would mix it in their chapatis and give it to their children. They would the medicine men knew about how it detoxed and kept their insides clean. So today, with all this pollution and poison around us, we really, in my opinion, need to have a teaspoon a day. It's not very much, but it's enough to give you minerals and keep the poisons away. It kind of counteracts the acidosis in your system.
Yes, and as there is so much acidity on the planet as there is in our climate and whatnot, it's a very good alkalizing kind of thing to actually get in the habit of doing, to putting clay into our bodies. And as I understand, the horses were fed clay in their diet to keep their hoofs and bones strong also. I don't think the natives ever shoed their horses, did they?
Well, I don't think so. And another interesting point you were one of your questions was some testimonials, and I'll share a couple of those if you'd like me to.
Oh, love it.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll start with the horses. I've worked with horses all my life and had them all my life, including burros, donkeys, pack donkeys, and I still have my old pack donkey saddle in my living room.
Good.
And just always loved horses and worked with them closely. But I helped about 10 people over my life. That's not very many, but at least I knew that it worked with the clay with their horses with laminitis and Cushing's disease.
Oh.
And completely, helped them. Well, their horses recovered after they started using the clay. So, one might want to consider what that was that really helped the healing process. I don't want to say I don't want to use the word cure or the word anything like that. I'm just saying that after they did use the clay, their diseases did go away. So,
Barbara, is that because of the alkalizing process? I mean, I've read about 5 or 6 books on alkalinity and how crucial it is. I mean, is this really can basically all or most diseases symptoms go away if we alkalize property, and is that why these horses are getting better?
Yeah, that's really true in my opinion. That's my feeling about it. Having worked close to the land all my life, I really see that the more alkaline and more connected spiritually we are to the Mother Earth, and partaking in her soil is like kind of like eating Mother Earth, but in a way she's there. She's providing special herbs for us and alkalizing things to help us heal right on the planet, right on the Earth, and so. That brings up another point I wanted to share anyway, is that when the clay is renowned to have many uses. It's been like I said, used by indigenous cultures before recorded history. I mean, this is how long. And once the clay gets into your system, it has it works on the cell level. It absorbs radiation. There's no digestive disease that clay will not treat.
Wow.
It enriches and balances the blood. It'll absorb cell phones, microwave, X-ray, TV, and irradiated foods, everything like that. Alcoholism, you can help it completely. Help alcoholism, arthritis, cataracts. Open wounds, diarrhea, hemorrhoids, stomach ulcers, poisonous insect bites. I've saved some people from snake bites with using clay.
Yeah.
You can use mud and dirt with your saliva, but if you carry clay with you when you're backpacking, I'm telling you, it's you can save people's lives.
Spider bites and whatnot.
Yeah, snake bites and things. It'll pull out the poison just like magic, So, it is truly a healing clay, and it plays a big role right now on the planet because we're in dire straits for alkalizing, and nobody's getting enough mineral. Nobody uses the mineral, the food that's grown, even the organic food, a lot of times does not have enough mineral in the clay where it was grown, and so the mineral, we are deprived on our minerals. And the ancients ate food grown in fulvic acid and the volcanic ash and everything, and all the rich minerals, and we're not eating that kind of food anymore. So we really need to supplement with clay right now, in my opinion.
And I saw the laboratory analysis of the clay, some of the clays, and they're totally chock-a-block full of the wonderful vital minerals and nutrients that our bodies are so deficient in because of the growing practices that we have these days. So yes, right. I can certainly understand why it would be a good supplement to our already diet that's maybe deficient. And
that brings up another thing I was going to mention on the show today when we talked earlier, Flo, and that was the two mysteries about clay. Remember I mentioned that?
Yes. Please share that with us.
Yeah, I want to share that because it's something that nobody really hears about. That you don't really read this, but there are a couple mysteries about clay, and what I mean by mystery is that nobody can really explain, any way, shape, or form how or why clay. There's two that stand out, and I'll share those with you. The first one is clay seems to, and I'm going to say no. I know that clay doesn't have a brain and it doesn't walk, but it seems to know how to not overdose the individual body with the minerals that it has. Now, how does it know that the body has this much iron, this much calcium, so it doesn't need this much? So let's pass that much out through the urinary tract because we don't want to overdose this body. I don't know how it knows that, but it does seem to know that you cannot overdose from the minerals taking clay. Is that weird or what?
No, I think that's fascinating. and that goes right along with the water also, because water will be alkaline sometimes if it's needed to be, and acid at other times when it's needed to be. So there's kind of that knowing, like you say.
Yeah, it's kind of a spiritual property. And then the other one is, how does clay know not to remove the good nutrients or supplements that you're taking on the side? So when you take your clay in the morning and and you take your other supplements, how does it know just to take out the chemicals? It will take out medications. You have to take clay at least an hour, maybe two, before or after you take any kind of medication from your doctor, because it will take that out of your system.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
But isn't that interesting? It knows. It seems to know somehow not to remove the good nutrients from your system, only the bad stuff.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That's all this, and how the clay interacts with the wisdom in the body, and how it. I have a theory, Barbara and Flo, and my theory is that there's intelligence basically in everything in the universe, whether whether it's matter or something vibrating above what we would call matter, and it seems like when we have a highly energized, highly charged, or just an effective material like this clay, it's just that intelligence just comes out. That intelligence brings out the intelligence of the body, and I just find that fascinating.
Me too, and I agree with you on that. I agree. I think that there's some kind of intelligence there, and a lot of my customers say, "Well, I prayed on this, and Jesus came and told me, well, I used it to help heal people, so why wouldn't it heal you?"
Yes.
I mean, people say that to me a lot. They say, "Well, it's in the Bible, even."
So ancient wisdom there.
Yeah, ancient clay wisdom or something.
Yeah. Fascinating, Barbara. Your stories are very interesting, and I know there's things that people are really just needing to hear and needing to absorb.
And one other thing, one of your questions, I'm trying to keep it flowing here because I know a half an hour goes by quickly. But
well, we might give you a little more time. This is okay. So we're okay.
All right. Okay.
Yep.
Well, another important point about clay that I'd love to share with everybody, and that is with animals and clay.
Please.
Many species of mammals, birds, reptiles, even insects, all over the world eat dirt. They eat dirt, and they eat the dirt that has the clay in it. They eat the clay dirt. And it's a habit or whatever you want to call it, and it's been assumed to be an attempt to rectify mineral deficiencies in their diets. So they naturally know that the clay has these chemical structures in them that help to bond and get rid of other bad things in their system, like chemicals, or if they got toxins or something like that. So animals, biologists in Canada and Alaska, they've seen the brown bears licking clay from banks along the footpaths. They've seen, and in fact, all their scats are full of clay. So, they see it, that this is what the bears are eating. They're eating the dirt. And and they find it all over the world. Like Venezuela, the free-range cattle there, they dig and lick at clay subsoils. Africa, the buffaloes lick the clay. You know, chimps, giraffes, rhinoceroses, gorillas, even in the rainforest in New Guinea. Parrots and pigeons and crows, and you know, they'll go down and eat the dirt. They observe this, so this is a well-known fact that these flocks will go for miles to get to the right clay deposits to make sure that they eat some clay to keep their, you know, system in balance. So
yes, as well as a lot of animals roll in the mud, like in elephants in Africa, for example, will be rolling in their mud to protect them from their sun. That's and their ticks also apparently are really diminished because of that.
That's exactly true.
They
roll in it, and that's why they have a special clay bath where, you know, some people don't like clay. Oh, they want to take it. It's not yucky, really. It's not gaggable. It's not slimy. When you take it with water, it absorbs in the water. It's just like drinking a glass of water that's kind of a little bit brown, you know, but you don't really taste anything bad in it. But
pretty neutral.
Yeah, but some people still don't like the idea. They feel like they're eating dirt, and they don't want to eat dirt. And some people only do the clay baths. And hey, a clay bath is just as good. It could be, you know, that helpful to that individual. If they don't want to eat it, they could at least soak in it, and the clay will absorb into their skin and help them detox that way. So I have a lot of customers and people and friends and people that just do the bathing, but eating clay is pretty spectacular. The energy you get from it is phenomenal. You know, you really get a lot more energy, and you feel better, and you just feel more balanced. You don't have. I've had people with osteoporosis and fibromyalgia that said their pain went away. The pain from eating just the clay. So, you know, it even works sometimes with pain, which is phenomenal.
On the nerve endings, perhaps.
Yeah.
Must probably feed the nerve endings in some way.
Right.
Okay. And I imagine with abscesses or anything like that, it probably pulls out the impurities, eh?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And for the other thing too to share, tumors. Some people use the clay mixed with the black salve. You've probably heard of black salve. And they'll take a mixture of that, because black salve is very, very powerful. It'll eat a hole in your skin, you know, and it's almost like putting acid on your skin. But if you dilute it with a little clay and make it just a little bit less powerful, you can use it more safely on a tumor or on some lump or bump that you want to try to remove. You know?
Okay. And the black salve is it a clay also, or is it a volcanic thing? Or?
No, it's just a salve made with, I think there's some herbs, and you have to, you know, you can go online and look for it. It's around different places, but it's a special salve. Yeah.
Okay. So that's mixed with clay to alkalize it a little bit, is it?
Yeah, and make it less, you know, a little bit more.
Strong.
Yeah, well, no, less strong, because the black salve actually eats away your skin, and that's how come it works well for tumors. It'll remove the tumor, but it's dangerous sometimes because it can cause burning, and it can take away flesh in places maybe you don't want to have it removed. So I've just heard that a lot of people. I haven't worked with anybody with that mixture, but I'm just sharing it. One more testimonial. I helped a lady who had gangrene. She came to my farm one day and she said, "Barbara, I have to have my foot removed." And I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yeah, it has gangrene." And she showed it to me, and really, if you had seen it, you would have thought, well, there's nothing, absolutely nothing to do. She you know, should have it removed. Well, I said to her, if you stay with me for a week, I'll guarantee you will keep your foot. And she did it. And I used the clay and sea salt and helped her, and she walked away and went back to the doctor and never had to have that foot removed.
Awesome. That's
amazing.
That's a great story. Wow.
Yeah. And for environmental care, you know, clay is something we need to, you know, it enriches and remineralizes the soil. I had an organic farm with 10 acres, and we had 3 greenhouses and 100 raised beds, and I did farmers markets in Colorado, and we enriched the soil with clay and azomite, which is a form of clay. And, you know, for the world we live in today, this is an amazing product. This clay can clean up toxic spills like you don't know. It absorbs it all into the clay, you know, and it decontaminates and it removes the chemicals. And, you know, and we have tons and millions of pounds of this. There's clay mines all over the place, and we should be using more of it to help with oil spills along the beaches and oceans and things like that. And they are starting to use it for these kind of purposes. But I wish they would use it more because it's really effective. Well,
and for the Fukushima situation that's happening, anybody that suspects of radiation in an environmental situation would definitely be well advised to use that.
Yes, yes. They really should. The Japanese people should be using it. They should be, you know, and we all have to be prepared. We never know what's going to happen, and that's why keeping clay, I believe, you know, inside and out. So a bath a week or a bath every 2 weeks, and you know, using it internally, I think, is one really great way to help prevent the radiation levels. If something happened to, you know, you could save your life and your family and your children
and your pets
and your pets. And the clay is good for pregnant women. It's been used by pregnant women for centuries to help keep the fetus healthy without getting toxins into the fetus. It's safe for children. It's safe for dogs, cats, birds. We've worked with animals that were dying, birds in their bird cages that were just laying on the bottom of the cage, hardly eating. And once the people put the clay in their water and dripped it in their mouth, the clay helped to absorb the toxins. And these little birds, you know, so I tell people, put a clay ball in your bird cage, you know, mix it with water and put it in there and let them peck on it because they love clay.
Why not?
Yeah. So clay is good for everyone. It really isn't anybody that clay is not good for. If you find that you don't like it and you've tried it for a while, some people say, well, it didn't work for me, or it didn't muscle test correctly for me, or this and that. Well, that's fine. You know, maybe it's just not meant for you. You know, everybody's an individual and can decide what they need or what they resonate with. But I've found most people see wonderful results with their animals and themselves using clay.
And as you say, there are many different types of clay.
Yep.
So it could be that maybe just apparently there's a calcium clay and a sodium type, and
that's right. Yep.
Yeah. So it could be a chemistry with each one of us is a different, unique chemistry.
Right. But the sodium clays are really not suggested to be used internally, and the reason is they're more swelling. Sodium will swell and bloat your system more than the calcium, so I've noticed people that use the sodium have a lot of bloating going on with that type clay. So, you know,
right. That's
the
salt. The salt will attract water, maybe, eh? Okay.
Right.
This is fascinating, Barbara. This is giving me a whole new appreciation for Mother Earth in a way that's very tangible as far as our own bodily healing process. I'm definitely going to try this and get on this clay program because I could see I'm feeling right now intuitively like at least several areas in which it's going to help. One thing I wanted to touch on was a lot of individuals on sort of a more spiritual path, or who are meditating and really doing some inner work, talk often about grounding. And I'm sensing that really taking in this highly concentrated, energized form of earth into our bodies and putting it on our bodies really would help us really move some of that energy down and ground in our bodies. Do you have any feedback on that, or is that what do you think about that idea?
Well, I think it's true. There was something written that I've always kept, and it's found on a website called AlternativeMedicine.com. Anyway, he says bentonite clay and its spiritual properties. Intestinal cleanse of the colon is strongly recommended by Kalki and the Golden Age Foundation in order to be fully receptive for pranic energy. Wow. It is so vital that it should be the mandatory preparation before all deeper spiritual processes and as a continuous maintenance of the body as an antenna of cosmic energies. So it says bentonite, Montmorillonite is believed to have exceptional properties.
And is that the red clay? Is bentonite the red clay?
Yeah, but there's other colors too that are bentonite. Bentonite is just a name from a town in Utah that's where that name came from. But Montmorillonite is, and you have to say that like that, or you really get your tongue twisted up. Montmorillonite is a form of this clay, and there's all types of different colors, just like the rainbows. You know, there's colors, all kinds of people that are different colors. There's different colors of clay. And different species of animal, everything. There's a variety of different things everywhere, but basically, the red color is more alkaline. Red is an alkaline color, and it's because probably some of the iron, of course, in the clay from the mountains here in the Rocky Mountains. This is where the clay, the Terramin, comes from, is the Rocky Mountains up where I live, and so it's close by. It's from thousands of years ago, but the reason it's more alkaline is because when the volcanoes went off, the clay moved into the Colorado River, and it traveled the Colorado River down into Southern California, where it settled in the desert, and they have to mine this clay down under the ground, and it's in a colloidal petrified rock form. They have to grind it into a powder, so it is so pure. It's just the chunks that have petrified over thousands of years. And they say that this clay is so alkaline that it has mineral properties in it that they don't even know, that there are no names for.
Wow.
In other words, they don't know what they are. They just are really beneficial to consume.
The micronutrients. Yeah. And I know the clay is very, very fine when you buy it and when you use it. So it's kind of like a powder, like you used to powder on women's faces, kind of. So very, very fine.
That's right. And it's living. And the word living, again, I'm going to share that. If you took some of this clay and you put it somewhere for 1,000 years or so, it's going to change because it's living. So the mineral content will change, and it will change to a different form of mineral.
Wow.
Yep.
Interesting. So,
yeah, like a rock's not going to really do that. Or a rock is going to be a rock, and it's going to stay a rock for thousands of years. But they say that the clay is living, and so it changes.
Dynamic somehow, huh?
Yep.
Barbara, where can people? Because I'm definitely going to try this. I want to know, where can you get the good stuff? What do you recommend as far as a website, or where can people get the highest quality red clay, bentonite clay that you're talking about that has all these beneficial effects?
That's a good chance to give your advertisement there, Barbara.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm going to give you my website. But I want to mention that also something else quickly. This clay has been checked out by FDA as GRAS, so it's edible consumption. We have a pet clay and a people clay. The pet clay by the people, Clay, and they take it and share it with their pets because it's the highest quality. So I'm just giving you a tip right there. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's a higher quality, and that's called Terramin.
Paramin.
No, Terramin. Like T as in Tom.
Okay.
ERR like Robert.
Mm-hmm.
A like Apple. M like Mary. IN like Nancy. Terramin.
Okay.
And that's the edible. And then I have a Terra bath for bathing and a special silky Terra silk for people with eczema, skin disorders, things like that. It's ground by hand, and it goes in through the skin and absorbs and pulls out the toxins and helps people clear up skin disorders. So that's also, and my website is www.barbswellness.com.
barbswellness.com.
Barb,
just like it sounds.
Plural. That's right. BARBS and then
Barbs.
barbswellness.com.
Excellent.
Okay.
And we offer free shipping on the 8-pounders and of the edible clay for people.
Okay.
And lots of good information we send along. And I'm available on the phone as well for consultations if people want to. I don't charge anything. I just talk to people. So.
Oh, great. And we've got that on our website also. So anybody that listens to the audio file will be able to go and look and see your address also.
Thank you.
So that was an absolutely stunning talk that you've just given us, Barbara. It's so informative and so timely with what's going on right now in the world. So we thank you from the bottom of our heart, and we wish you well, and we'd love to have you on again at some future point. Speaking more about it.
You're Klaus, thank you very much. Both of you are dear hearts.
Josh. Yeah, Josh.
And Josh.
Yeah.
Josh.
Thanks, Barbara. Yeah, pleasure
welcome.
to meet you, and thank you so much for your time. This is really, really good information for a lot of people and a lot of uses. So thank you for bringing it out to the world.
We'll keep in touch, Barbara.
Okay, thank you. You have a beautiful evening.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was Barbara, the Colorado clay lady.
Wow, that was excellent. I'm just really vibing with this information that she shared, and I'm going to be all over this.
I knew you would be, Josh. It's wonderful stuff. Very grounding from the ground, so to speak, when you think about it.
And one thing, another idea I had about that was, even in those of us who are on this sort of conscious path, we're still in a way disconnected from Mother Earth, aren't we? I mean, even the soles of our shoes are a rubber for the most part, and that doesn't really conduct energy like we did in generations past. That connection, that energetic connection with the mother. So what I'm really sensing is this is a way to reestablish that connection. In my research with electromagnetic radiation and grounding, specifically grounding comes into it. There's scientists, Dr. Stephen Sinatra and Clint Ober wrote a book called Earthing, which is just fascinating. They talk about having your feet on the ground on the wet, grassy earth for 15 or 20 minutes a day, just to basically reset the body electronically and connect with the earth. And this just seems like what Barbara shared, just seems like another way that we can not only reconnect with earth, but we can just heal, and all these things in our body. Yes,
and giving our feet mud baths, for example, and putting it on the actual soles of our feet, I think is one of the therapies that they use. And if you can't get out to the ground and walk on the grass, and that what is a very good way, it may be another alternative for people in big cities that need this kind of grounding, like you say, for the body to have its ultimate health, and what we've been looking at there. And so it's a very, very good information that we've received.
Absolutely. And Dalkoiya, what Dalkoiya Batchelor shared earlier about rejuvenating the body and the endocrine system and how we can take charge of that. I think that's also so key. And in waking ourselves up. Really, we're on this awakening process, waking ourselves up in our consciousness to support the body. I'm just so grateful for Dalkoiya's time and his expertise and how he connects different areas of health and of what's going on in our planet. So many thanks to both of our guests. And did you have anything you wanted to share as we wrap up here, Florence?
You know, we have our radio show is about heart, and it's Sacred Fire, and it's a heart-centered radio show. And I have a little story that it's a friendship, and it's about heart is a lot about friendship, and what we all want in our life is good people around us and to be happy and healthy. And this friendship was about an elephant and a dog, and they were going around in this the place where they have been kept in this protected area, wilderness camp, and they've been running around together and enjoying each other's company. And then the story goes on about the large elephant was seen standing on the roadside, and she was right beside the dog and looking down at the dog. And when they found her, the dog had twisted the spine. It moved, and it had no deep flesh. The elephant hadn't hurt it, which they wondered about. But this dog's spine it was twisted and hurt, and they took it back to the office. And given about 3 days later, they heard Bella, the dog, barking in the room, and they went to check it out. And as they were checking it out, they noticed that the window and outside, the elephant was seen making noises and calling up to the dog, and so they took the dog down to the ground level to where the elephant was and put it on the ground, and the elephant was putting its trunk very touching very sweetly to the dog and checking it all out and make sure he's okay. And they obviously had missed each other over the time, and so here was this friendship that had developed between the dog and the elephant, and within weeks and a month, the dog healed, and again, it's out there with its best friend, this huge elephant. It's just such a touching video. We'll have it on our website if people want to look at it. But again, it's just about heart and about touching people's hearts. And you know, we have to ask, what is our life really about? And we all want that heart connection with each other, and being healthy and having a good body is part of that. And that's what we're hoping to bring to these shows that we have, is just to extend these feelings out to our listening audience. And so we really all just want the same things, to be happy and healthy and surround ourselves with good friends, just like these two unique friends did, this elephant and dog. Mm-hmm. And I just, until next time in our show, I think, what we focus on and think about expands. So we'd like to just give thanks for what we have in our lives, and whether it be our good health or the food we're given, or perhaps good friends that we've been blessed with. We just want to remember also that random acts of kindness could go a long way. Mm-hmm. And I've really enjoyed this show, and with you as a co-host and Klaus being on board here with all the little glitches that we've had today, it's been a pretty great show. So,
thank you so much, Florence. It's very beautifully spoken, that the story and those words of wisdom. I want to also just encourage, if you enjoyed the show, share it with your friends on social media, and also take a moment to visit our website and enter your email address and subscribe, because you'll be notified of our next show next month. So we're doing one show a month. That may be increased in the future, but take a moment and send us a note. Let us know how you enjoyed the show and what kind of guests that you would like to see on the Sacred Fire.
Right, and also next month is the Chinese New Year, so we'd like to maybe incorporate at some point that also. And we'll talk more, and you can read, like Josh said, on our Sacred Fire Radio information supplied at that site. So thanks, Josh.
And thanks to all our guests, or both our guests and all of our listeners for joining us today. Yeah. Have a wonderful as we roll into February and into the new Chinese New Year. Have a wonderful month, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah. Okay, we'll say goodbye and God bless.